Well, hey everybody, welcome to another Decadent episode where today we'll be discussing and reviewing Alien Romulus. We both saw it last week. I put out kind of like a spoiler-free initial thoughts, and you had been saying you wanted to get together to discuss it, so it was much sunnier earlier. Unfortunately, as the day goes on, it's a little cloudy, a little windy, so hopefully
It's better like this.
It's not bad though. It's a beautiful day.
It's a real brat summer day.
Yeah.
For
So
a brat summer review.
we are having Connecticut Fumas by Rocky Patel, and
Very brat summer smoke.
I don't know what brat summer means.
That makes it more brat.
Uh-oh. Well, whatever that
Knowing
is.
what brat is? Not brat.
I don't care.
I don't know what it is.
So,
But I heard about it on the radio today.
so, brat, like is in like little kid summer, unattended child summer. Aren't all summers for unattended children? Go play outside. Don't come back till it's
More
dark.
like go play on the iPod.
Yeah. Here's your, go. Yeah, jeez. So anyways, we're here to discuss Alien Romulus in detail. And for me, it's kind of a mixture of the good, the bad, and the ugly, are kind of my thoughts on it. But you're my guest.
Mine are the good, the great. I'll go with the ugly because the ugly is awesome, especially in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Fair enough.
No, it's the good, the great, the ugly, and the, I will say, and the bad, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I can't think of any reason for us to not just jump straight into it. By now, my initial thoughts are already out
Well, I
there.
mean, his initial thoughts are out on it, but you don't want to listen to those. But my, my case for the movie is if you like hard R science fiction. Okay, yeah,
Hard R. Oh, no.
if you like R-rated science fiction, support the movie. You don't get hard R. God damn it! You don't get R-rated science fiction unless people go and see R-rated science fiction.
Right.
So if you're thinking about it, go out and watch it. Go out and watch it. Give it a chance. Spend a little money on it. Support an art form that is unfortunately not as popular as I want it to be.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. This guy, Fede Alvarez, he's got a history of making like those R-rated horrors. He did the Evil Dead, kind of like the reimagining.
Yeah, the 2013 one,
and
which
then-
I slept on until this like 3 months ago.
Oh no,
Loved it.
I actually really liked it too.
Loved it.
This movie kind of has the same problem that one does though, where the end gets a little bigger than it needs to be. He likes his big bombastic endings. He did the same thing with Don't Breathe, which was a fine movie. Like, he's better when it's like contained and small. These bigger bombastic endings, they just don't work for me, and that was a problem with his other films that I've seen as well. So
So the ending is bad for me.
yeah, ending's terrible.
I wouldn't go as far as terrible because there are some awesome things that happen in it. There's a big fuck you to Joe Sweden, which I
Well-
don't mind. No, that specifically was a fuck you to Joe Sweden.
So yeah.
So anyway, let's get into. But now that I've said my piece,
Yeah, I
we can get
get
into
it.
spoilers.
All right, so the movie opens with our ragtag group of kids on like this mining colony, which I actually kind of enjoyed this part. Oh no, the movie actually opens with them finding the alien's cocooned body in the wreckage of the Nostromo. I forgot all about that. That doesn't make any narrative sense, but it's fine. I don't think we needed
Well, it would have been near the Nostromo because there were like
Nostromo
six. There were 6 aliens.
the Nostromo when it blew up, right?
Well, some of them were on the hyperpod with her after she'd already left.
Just the one was on. Just the same one.
so
got
I'm
on
assuming
her.
that's the one that they found.
Yes, but I'm saying like the wreckage of the Nostromo, and the thing nuclear exploded several times. Because I watched Alien and Aliens.
Here's the thing, though. If it's that one that was on the pod with her, it would have been leaving the Nostromo's orbit at the
Right.
same speed
Which is why
that she was.
it being found in a debris field doesn't make a whole lot of sense scientifically
It's
speaking.
fine.
I think we don't even need to know how they pick it up. I think you can start with a space station and there's an alien on it, and we know enough. We know that they've picked up a xenomorph. We don't need
got that awesome music. We got that panned out shot of like the scientist like standing there as the alien comes in. We got the pan out of it. Like that was those were wonderful
Look,
shots.
the movie looks fine. It is.
The music and the looks of that scene, of that starting sequence, were so alien. They were so
Right.
brutalistic science fiction. They were so H.R. Geiger.
They got
Loved them.
They got the aesthetics quite right, which I
Which is
appreciate
fantastic.
because it really
and so we
looks
know
like.
that we know how they got the alien. We know what year it is. 'cause
I don't
it's
need to
20
know how
years.
they get the alien.
It doesn't matter if you need to know
it's
or not.
It's a nitpick for me. Well, I mean, that's what we're here to discuss. So I don't need to know how they got the alien. I don't need it directly tied to the first movie in such a, because it's not important overall to the story, right? Not really. It doesn't matter
It
where
kind
the
of
alien...
is in the sequence of events of the alien world. Like, maybe that's why Weyland-Yutani are so set on going into LV-426.
Well,
because they are. It doesn't matter because this is all retcon anyway.
Well, they already knew about the distress signal, and they knew it was kind of like an SOS in the first Alien, and that's why when they're in cryo, the AI mother reroutes them.
It's set to find any non-human
Yeah. So
beeping. The beginning was awesome when you had the classic Alien music as in Nostromo is like it's going into the cargo ship slowly.
I just thought
that music was so atmospheric, so fantastic,
Like I
and
said.
it was so brutalistic sci-fi. I loved it, and just the way that you saw the guys like in those dark red and black uniforms, that was so cool.
So, all right, so we disagree on that. But we start with our group of like 20-somethings.
Well, we start with the main heroine.
Or like our group of 20. I'm just going to lump them sort of together.
Sure.
She's done her time. She can get off world. She dreams about going to the planet Yuvaga, because I kept wanting to call it Travago, because that's all I could think of. And she's got her android brother, Andy. And
He was an android?
yeah, Andy the android. And then his model number is ND. So
Yeah,
it's like
that's why.
they really went for it, which is fine. I mean,
That's how it works when you name shit.
yeah, it is. 100% it is. And she has enough time to get off the planet, but they say there's a labor shortage because people keep dying in space. Like the mining colony, everybody's dying. This group of kids, our intrepid group of like
Young
kids,
20s.
all their parents have died on this planet, and they don't want to be next.
They've died of novel viruses.
Yep.
They've died of androids making mind decisions, making like save
Yep.
12 people, kill 3.
An iRobot kind of thing.
And the planet has 0 days of sunlight.
Right.
It is again very brutalistic, hard sci-fi.
I like the way it looked.
It's very company store.
It is.
Like that song. Mm-hmm. You move 16 tons, and what do you get? And she fits her quota.
Yeah.
And the lady behind the desk is just like, double it.
Yeah, maybe
She does it on purpose.
Yeah, well, maybe in retrospect, don't brag to the woman who's stuck in that job about how great it'll be to leave.
Well, the lady wasn't letting her go.
I can't wait to leave. Sure.
And then she's like, and now you're going to the mines where everyone dies.
Yeah.
So when this girl is given an opportunity by these other people who they
Her
fly
ex-boyfriend and like his crew.
they like fly. I assume they fly.
I don't know that them having such casual access to a ship with off-world capabilities.
Well, they're a cargo ship, so I think what they do is they fly the cargo up to like other ships, to like Nostromo type ships,
Right.
Who then ship it off because you're not gonna land a Nostromo on the planet.
No, you're not. But it's like it does seem a little weird that like such a young crew would have access to a ship with off-world
Why?
capabilities.
There's no one over 30 on this planet apparently.
Well, there's no like bureaucrat whose like key card is required to access the ship. You know what I mean?
But it doesn't have off-world opportunities, off-world capabilities.
It can get
without cryo.
It doesn't have interstellar capabilities, but it can get off-world.
It can go above the clouds and then you'll die in 5 days.
Yeah. So it just seems weird that like considering how regimented everything was, there wasn't like it didn't require like an administration key card. Like I said, this is a small detail. I don't really care that much about it because they don't waste a whole lot of time getting to the goods, right? They establish the world, how bleak it is. You understand why they're doing it. She and Andy are part of it because they received this also confused me a little bit. They received what they thought was a signal for another Weyland-Yutani ship in orbit, but they had to go above cloud coverage in order to get it.
When they were outside of orbit.
Yeah, when they were outside of it. But then also like there's no like Weyland-Yutani like communication satellites or beacons or anything like that.
No,
There's
it's just
no way
ships that come by and collect pickups and then leave.
I can understand.
Why on a planet where you can't send down signals? Why would you have orbitals?
How would you communicate off-world to make sure your schedule everything's running on time?
Someone pops up, the Nostromo pops up, sends down a ship, says, "Hey, we're here." Boop. You go up. You start bringing it doesn't. Why would that detail matter? Because it's so easily explainable.
That detail matters because they're the only ones who know about it.
Right.
And so,
but it's so easily explainable as to why.
It just doesn't make sense when they're able to track the Nostromo through deep space.
You don't even know why
with
they're
tight
going
beams.
up, and you're sitting here arguing about it.
I'm just saying, if you have a derelict station up there, right, and they're able to get the signal, how does nobody else have access to that signal? How is there not like a company signal? It's not like
it was a very weak signal.
If they had said this was like a black site that was not doing, and they had to see it visually, that's one thing. But then they would have to hope that it is stuck in like some kind of
I'm
synchronous
pretty sure
orbit.
they did have to. They detected it. It wasn't a signal being sent out.
I think they picked up a signal and it was faint when they got to
Well,
a
if it's
certain
faint,
cloud
then it's
level.
not going to go above.
Yeah, but they don't have a high-tech communications array, and you would need one in deep space to communicate off-world. So I'm just saying, them being the only ones, maybe. But like Weyland-Yutani not knowing where their own rogue space station's gone doesn't seem very likely.
Because it's a black site.
But it effectively still communicates.
To who?
The Mother.
Mother is on their ship.
Mother is like a central AI that controls like all these things. It's not just
It's
the
central
one thing.
but their mother is on their ship.
They have one on the yes, but they also, as it was shown, have been effectively communicating with their and it's weird
effectively
because
communicating with what?
they have like a whole introduction.
No, effectively communicating with what?
They would have had to be effectively communicating with base in order to like other. So when Ash was saying he was going to send a message to headquarters, or not Ash, Rook, sorry. He said he was going to send a message to headquarters that they were going down to the planet with the sample to come collect it. So the space station had a way to send a message, or there was a way to send a message from the ground, because that was the whole point of getting the sample off station, was so that way somebody from HQ could come collect it. So they had to have had capabilities, long-range communication capabilities,
Okay.
either on station or from the ground.
And how long would that take to send a station? He mentions months.
Well, yeah, but that's how those beam communications work.
Right.
So it would still take a while, but the fact like
So they're not in constant communication with the company.
they're in they have the
They're
ability to
not in
communicate
constant
though.
communication.
They have the ability to communicate though. It is established, but it's just never used.
Okay, let's say when the alien, let's say when the problem happened on the Romulus.
Right.
How long ago was that?
Indeterminate. They
Right.
don't really. They don't.
So maybe
not
the
that
signal,
long.
maybe the signal hadn't even gotten to Weyland.
Based on the rate of decay of people, it couldn't have been super long.
No.
So
So then, if he specifically said it takes 6 to 7 months,
yeah,
then they wouldn't have contacted them yet.
right. But they don't say any of that. It's not brought up.
He says it takes 6 to 7 months for the company to get the message when
the end
he's
of
going
the
to send a message. Yes, but it wouldn't take less time during the.
No, but I'm talking about like if the ship can send a message to HQ, how can it not send a message to the planet below? Right? There needs to be some
The
way.
planet wasn't the planet below; it had drifted.
Right, but like if this thing is got enough juice to send a tight beam signal, it can do it was doing a casual SOS, and it's going past a corporate planet. It's not like this is an
Not a
unaffiliated.
casual SOS; it was doing a faint signal. It wasn't an SOS.
What I'm saying is there's no way a Weyland-Yutani company planet would not have some kind of communication code to contact another thing. Like it just how is all right?
Why
let's
would they
move
have
on.
satellites?
Let's-
Why would they have satellites above this planet?
for long-range communication? Because
would they
they're
need long-range
not going to
communication?
because they need to communicate with off-world to make sure things are running in quotas and times and everything. There needs to be a way.
Other ships are coming in. When the ships come in,
So that's the only way they get it.
they don't need 24/7 communication. They couldn't have 24/7 communication. It would also take them 6 to 7 months to get a single message.
They would have to have a way to communicate off-world.
The
more
other ships would
efficiently.
be coming in with news.
I don't. All right, let's move on from this point because it's immaterial.
But you've been saying so many ridiculous things.
I've got a lot of other things to talk about.
But you've been saying so many
Yes, but
ridiculous things
yours
about
is,
the
yours
premise.
is hypothetical though. Like these are
But
not.
yours isn't. It's not. It's
All
yours
I'm saying is I find it
nitpicking
weird. I find
to
it
the point
weird.
That why would they need to explain this? Why?
Because the whole premise is then based off the fact that like they're the only ones who know it's there.
They were the only ship above the not just cloud surface, but above the atmosphere. The only ship.
The way objects move in space, though, right? How quickly that thing was moving, it entered a degrading orbit. So it didn't just show up, and it hadn't just been sitting there for like a day, right?
Where the signal is faint, then it was just detected for a day.
So you mean to tell me they're the only ship that's ever gone, that in however long it's taken them to realize this, the only ship that's gone up, and it would not be in their flight
if it is
path.
a faint signal, then it could be the only ship that has picked it up.
So they pick it up, they go back down, they get all their pieces together, they go back up. That space station is nowhere near where it was, so the only way they could guide themselves to it is by picking up the signal when they come out of cloud cover, which means any other ship would have been able to pick it up.
But there were other ships going up and down.
We don't know.
Did you see any other ship take off during the intro?
You mean to tell me they're the only ship in a 24-hour window that was doing this?
Yes.
They're the only cargo ship leaving.
What reason would a cargo ship have to go up?
Theirs is the only cargo ship?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
It's not the only cargo ship. But
I think
what
you're
reason?
asking-
What reason would another cargo ship have to go up?
Because it's inefficient to have just that one small mining cargo ship.
And what was it doing when it went up?
I don't remember what they said. I think they said they were offloading something, or I can't remember. I know that its cargo hold is full of sand by the end of it, and like space dust or whatever.
So you don't know why it went up. You don't know what they're doing up there. You just think that there's multiple cargo ships going up and down for no reason.
You see how big that planet is? You mean
There's 2,000 people on the planet.
You mean it's
the mining operation is in like a 2 square mile radius.
So, all right, so if that's the only cargo ship that's capable of doing this, right, all the more reason why there needs to be a whaling Uteni, like, administration or executive that allows it to leave. Because if they decide to steal it, then they have no other ships.
I didn't say it's the only cargo ship. I said what reason, what inference, what knowledge do you have that there would be more reasons for cargo ships to go up and down?
Just based on, like, living in the world.
Living in their world?
No, living in, like, any world, you wouldn't have just one ship. Like, that's wildly inefficient.
I didn't say there was one ship. I'm saying maybe the reason that it went up only required one ship. Maybe they don't need ships going up and down 24/7.
Regardless, they find they get the signal from the station.
It's not regardless. You're nitpicking things that you don't understand.
I don't understand?
Yes.
Dude, it is wildly inefficient. All right. I don't want to keep talking about this part.
No, because this is a problem. It's wildly inefficient to do what?
Send just one, have
To
like
do
the
what?
one ship. First of all, in order to find the space station, right?
It's wildly inefficient to send one ship to do what?
We don't know. So you're saying it is more efficient that way, and we just have to go with it.
Why,
We have to
why am I talking about efficiency? I'm not the one that's talking about efficiency.
It's a corporation town.
So
It's got to be like.
why is there a reason for more than one ship to go up in a day span? I'm not saying there's only one ship, which you keep harping on. I'm saying why, if there's 5 ships, why would more than one have to go up at a time? At that time. At that specific time.
All this started, it was because I was saying I find it highly doubtful that nobody else could access the signal from the... and!
The only people that accessed the signal were the ones that went above cloud cover.
And I was saying...
And found a very faint signal.
Based on previous world building, I doubt very much that a corporation planet, right, would have no means of communicating aside from sending a ship up or relying on news that came from somewhere else. They would have to have a way to report to HQ. It's just a logical conclusion.
LV-426 was a corporation world,
Yes.
was it not? Did they have satellites?
I don't know if they ever talk about it, but they do talk about the fact, also similar setup with like the constant storms, they do lose communications. They lose comms with them, and that's what causes the Marines to have to like gear up in Aliens, is they do lose communications to it because Paul Reiser sends a message to them, hey, we got this Ripley person saying there's some kind of alien ship down there with like possible biotech or like biomutant weapons. Go check it out. And when they do, that's when they lose it. And it's implied it's been a period of time.
Right, and I'm not saying that this mining town has no communication to Weyland-Yutani. I've never said that.
Okay.
They very clearly have communication. But you don't know why one ship went up. You don't know why one ship found a thing. Then there's no reason that this should be any point of contention. A ship went up. A cargo ship went up. One of however many cargo ships had some kind of mission the other day.
Right.
It goes up, it finds a weak signal, and they are the first people to find it. And that's all that matters. You don't need suspension of disbelief. That is a very normal thing to happen. Like when people find signals from people that are lost in the woods, it's not like multiple people find them at once. You know, it's someone that happens on it.
These are not spacefaring technologies we're comparing, though. Like this is a spacefaring. These people are spacefaring.
It's basic communications.
So
they live on a world that is full of volcanoes, has zero sunlight 24/7, has no communications up and down. Otherwise, Ash would have sent a message down to the colony itself.
Well, he couldn't have. Rook couldn't have because he wasn't connected to the mainframe yet.
And even after he didn't.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't. He should have. That would have been one of the first things he did.
Send a message to the colony.
How was he going to do it then at the end?
He was going to send it to the 6 to 7 month away outpost.
He should have done it anyway.
He did.
All right. So they get up to the space station, right? The split space station. It's a split space station. It's Romulus and Remus station. They land on Remus side. There's a map of it, and it's in the introduction when they're walking through the hallways, and they do like the kind of like a theme park kind of.
Well, it was like an
thing.
introduction, like a
Welcome to the Romulus and Remus space station.
Well, I mean that's just a.
But it sounds like touristy.
No, it did sound like Jurassic Park, like, hey, I'm John Hammond, and welcome to which if you have, let's say you have a diplomat coming, or you have like
Shareholders,
the senator, the shareholders coming, you
Yeah.
want to be like, look at how much thought we put into
Right.
naming this station. And then they had the painting from ancient Rome,
Right,
where
exactly.
we get the only titties in the movie,
it's the only ones they're ever
which
gonna
is
see.
Romulus sucking on his mom's titty.
So yeah, they land on Remus side. The space stations are separated, but not really separated.
It's a dual orbital.
Yeah,
They called
it's
it an
like-
orbital instead of a station, which is
Yeah.
weird. But orbital station, I guess it's the same thing.
Though the duties between Romulus and Remus side, I don't think were very well spelled out as to why they would bifurcate it. I think you should have just called it all Romulus, and then you could have done a sequel called Remus if you really needed to.
I think he just thought, I don't know why. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter at all.
So the
Maybe one side's military and one side's corporate.
well, they're
And one side's science, because they did have a military presence on the ship.
the implication behind a lot of Weyland-Yutani stuff is most of their stuff is done for military purposes.
It's both.
So it's like they're not like their scientific advancements are also meant to be militarized at some point. And like as of this point in the movie, it is pretty interesting. And it is shot very well, and it's shot kind of like their zero-G sequence, not terrible.
I love that the guy smoked the entire space weed.
That was funny.
He's like, I'm gonna do it, and they're like, oh my god, he's gonna do it.
But
And I'm like, what is he gonna do? And then as they're going up, he just lets this G's like smoke out. I was like, what the hell, man?
I know. At this point, I've really enjoyed it. This is the good for me because I think we get just enough of the cast. Not all of them need huge defined roles.
No.
We've got our pretty much our two leads, right, and they're very well defined. And then you have
Which
like
one, Andy or the boyfriend?
Andy and Rain.
Okay.
Are very well defined. The boyfriend is like a secondary character.
Yeah.
We
No,
have
I was just wondering which one you meant.
boyfriend, we have just enough of him.
Right.
His cousin, Bjorn, we get just enough of him to understand he hates androids because the android made a decision that led to his mom's death.
Right.
Perfectly fine.
Yep.
We've got the sister who's pregnant and
Well, just everyone who's desperate to get off the world.
And then-
like her plan is, I'm getting off the. Does her brother know?
No.
Okay.
He
Well,
doesn't
either
find- he
way,
doesn't
I
find
wasn't
out till
sure
later.
if that's why he was so
No, 'cause
desperate
she-
to get off too. But
And then I can't and then
Navarro.
the pilot, right? Who's the well, we get the shaved head Asian pilot.
That's Navarro.
Okay. She probably has the least amount to do in terms of like character
But she
establishment.
was my favorite one. She was
So-
she was knowledgeable, and she was
It's-
like she had like she did the actress did a very good job with a very small character.
It is a very small character, but it's a very important character because
Yeah.
you're the first one to get chest bursted, right? So while I was watching that whole sequence, it did seem like at first I was like, okay, the from face hugger to chest burster to full grown.
Let's not talk about that yet. So they get to the ship, and they
Well, we don't have to talk about it in sequential order.
Well, I do, because I want to talk about how cool the sets were. The ship was I love the analog technology.
Yeah, it
And
looks-
I
it
know,
looks
I know,
just like
I know
Alien.
a lot of it feels like, you could watch it and be like, well, Alien it just looked like this because of the 80s. But I sit there and I think about it, and I think, like, the radiation to space, the fact that, like, we're talking 20-year hauls. I think Nostromo was on, like, a 9-year haul.
It was a while. It was for a while.
I think it was 9 or 22 or something.
I
Either
don't
way,
think it was 22.
Either way, it was a ridiculously long haul. So you need the technology that's not gonna degrade on its own. So you need those big, thick, hard wires you need them to be resistant to radiation.
And you need to be able to replace them or bypass them in case things go wrong.
And so all that analog technology, it looks cool, it feels like Alien. The locks, the darkness. I was worried at the beginning that the whole movie was gonna be too dark because there were a couple.
I was a little worried about that too.
There were a couple
to be
scenes where I
honest.
was like, I can't really see what's happening. But then it really picked up. It turned that off. But I'm glad we got that kind of feel at the beginning, and then they
went a little far with it when they did the air duct where they showed like the
rat.
and the air duct portals were also like the ones from, because those weren't how the air ducts were. I don't think in the Nostromo is where those air ducts were, because I'm pretty sure they had to go into the rig they were carrying in Alien, and like that was like also like a terraforming. I believe they were picking up like a terraforming planet, or like this thing that terraformed a
They
world.
don't spend that long in the air ducts.
No, it's fine. It just felt like one of those like, hey, remember this kind of moments.
But those are okay. We'll get to it
Listen
later.
to some
We'll
of
get
the
to
ones that
later
aren't.
where it's not.
So they get on board, and yeah, I just their initial
Member
states-
berries are okay, but it goes a little too. It goes too far. At
It
one
goes
point.
way too far.
And that drove me nuts. But yeah, so they get there, and then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna check out the cryopods, the thing with the gravity. There's a gravity generator.
Yeah, it has to keep
that's
purging its gravity and anti-gravity.
Like
so.
even when the gravity thing is off, it still has to purge the system.
Yep.
And so
That
like
was
there's
pretty
a
neat.
couple sequences where this guy falls and
Bjorn should have broke his back with that first fall.
he ends up breaking his leg.
Well, yeah, but he looked real jacked up when he that first fall.
People survive.
I
weird
know, but I
shit.
was just like, oh god.
And wasn't he wearing a suit? So like you
Yeah,
know.
but it was like a thermal suit.
Yeah, but those suits
Yeah.
have things on the spine.
Yeah, but it still was.
I know,
like,
it was
he
a
landed
gnarly
hard.
fall.
He landed hard.
And then they find out the cryopods have
Mm-hmm.
only have 3 years of sleep, and they need 9 years to get to Yavanna.
yeah,
To
Travago.
to get to Yahweh.
Yavaga, Travago.
And,
to
and
Yahweh,
so,
oh
so
no.
now they have to find the cargo, which was great setup. So they get the pods into the ship, which is fantastic. So they're not like racing. They really did say this is going to take 30 minutes, and
Yeah.
they meant it.
No, all that stuff where they take the time to get the pods over, then they're like, oh, we need more fuel.
And that gave
All
us
of this stuff
that-
makes sense.
and it gave us character moments. It gave us more of the motivations. It let us show that Bjorn was a giant cock,
Right.
even though he wasn't really, because it's an android.
He's just mean
he
to him.
is,
Yeah,
he's mean to him. But
he's still
again,
grieving.
It's not a person.
No, he's still grieving
and
a bit.
Is racism understandable when it's a robot?
But them not being able to get into or what was it? They weren't able to open the. Is it they can't get into it or they can't open? No, they trip the sensor in the cryofuel spot.
So they get into
and
this
that locks
cryofuel
the
area,
door.
and he opens it because the robot. The reason they need a robot
Yeah,
is because
so
he can speak mother.
Interface, yeah.
They say he speaks mother. And
But he
it's
can't
funny
get
when he
that-
puts his finger in the first time,
And it
Bjorn
opens.
goes, "Hey, you're not a virgin anymore."
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And so they get to this. They get into this cryo space with that has. They're like, I don't know why it has cryofuel, but it does. So we're gonna
Yeah,
take it out.
yeah. Why is all the cryofuel in this one room?
And so they
Good
take
reason.
out this cryofuel, and that trips the alarm, which
Yep.
is like, you can't like cryofuel critically low, fucked up room is, and now
Yes.
you see the temperature rising,
And the
these
face
facehuggers
start thawing.
start to thaw, and it is such a cool sequence. There's something in the water.
I mean, there's something in the water has been done a couple times in this
But
franchise.
I mean, still, like that was
this
wait,
is-
the face huggers in the water.
This is supposed to be very similar to that the scene in Aliens with Ripley and Newt, where
Yeah.
they wake up in the room and there's just the two facehuggers. And I wasn't too mad at this. At least my favorite plot point is where they have to put the Weyland-Yutani chip into
They take
Andy.
a chip from a
Oh, it's
broken Weyland
so
Yutani
good.
android. I love how they never saw the alien when they were in that room because they were just like looking. They were so focused on what was happening.
Yeah, none of
and
them
they never
looked up.
looked up.
None of them
But
looked up.
so and you know that's totally reasonable.
Hey,
but
it's
they
a big room. There's a hole in the floor. You're not looking up.
so they get this chip from Evil Robot,
Yeah.
which they don't know is Evil Robot, and they put it in Nice Robot,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns out that they that to give him more access to be able to open the room again.
And this is where I have to say the acting in this, particularly from the guy who played Andy, he was in a different class than the rest of his coworkers. That guy nailed it.
Well, he had to be.
He nailed it. Playing like the simple, broken, like mentally compromised version of Andy who tells dad jokes into also like making him more of like the cynical, hard company man mathematics robot like android, but still feeling like the same character. Not just feeling like, oh,
Right.
now he's playing two different characters. No, he felt
Because
like this,
he's
he
still-
still had the protect directive.
Even when he didn't anymore, he still
Well,
had
sorta,
feelings.
yeah.
He still prioritized Rain and still had because the directive doesn't mean that he's gonna that
Yeah.
he hates her. He's like
He can still keep her alive. He can do both things. to
because
be
his
true.
directive is to keep someone alive too.
Yeah, keep her alive,
And,
and yeah, it was awesome.
But no, he reboots while these facehuggers are attacking the guys, and they're
Oh, that was so cool.
trying to punch him off. This guy had found like a cattle prod, and
He's not using it because of the water. I appreciated. He didn't
yes, and
shock
so he's-
anyone.
They're barely doing it, and then here's one of the things that I really appreciated how. And I don't know if I'm gonna say appreciated because I don't particularly like it. It makes me uncomfortable. But how phallic this scene was when it almost gets to him, and it's like
Oh,
the
yeah,
facehugger
when it's
gets to him,
putting the thing in his
and
mouth.
it's trying to jam this thing in his mouth, and he's like, and I mean, like, because the original Alien was very much, the facehugger was very vaginal for a reason, and he specifically said that he wanted, like, it was an analogy for male rape, like
Right.
men getting raped is one of the things that the facehugger was doing.
Right.
And so, like, the fact that they paid, like, the fact that they did that and made it so graphically, like, it's not graphically sexual,
no,
'cause it's
no.
not a penis, but it's very uncomfortable.
It's
because
very uncomfortable.
It fits totally into the original vision of the alien.
And especially when they pull the one off Navarro there, where it's just like the tube keeps coming out. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah, but so and then Andy boots up and he just beats the hell out of the facehuggers.
Yeah, they.
Well,
get
he just
their-
punches them, and I'm like, I really appreciate that he was only using blunt force trauma, not breaking their skin.
Yep. They're
And,
very careful not to do that.
And they do manage to get out and seal it off, but one facehugger gets on.
Navarro.
Yep.
And then I like that scene too, where Bjorn, when Bjorn starts chasing them back to the ship, because they're, and he realizes, wait a minute, if she's got the chest burster, this whole mission's compromised. And they're like doing that, they're chasing. He's like, Bjorn thinks that Andy's trying to kill her. And he's like, is he? And the sister's like,
I don't know. Yeah. And so, I mean, well, once they get her down, and the Rook wakes up, who is Ash from the original.
Yeah, it's.
Was that the actor?
Ian Holmes dead.
Oh, he is dead?
So that's CGI. I'm pretty sure Ian Holmes is dead. That's CGI Bilbo Baggins, my friend.
I didn't actually, like, I hate Peter Cushing in Star Wars. In Rogue One or whatever the hell. I hate, well, I never saw the third new Star Wars, but I assumed that I would hate Leia in it, and I hate when they drag actors back from the dead. But in this one,
I hated this.
In this one, he's a robot. I thought that they did using his likeness. I thought they did a very good job. I think that it was very appropriate to do in a movie about robot, because I mean, like,
he could have been any other android. He could have been any other android. We've never really seen, like.
But he is specifically the Weyland-Yutani science android.
Well,
he's
so
the
is
science module.
Bishop. You could have given us.
He's not the science module.
He's. Well, we don't know specifically if Ash is their science model. We know he's the science officer, and he was given to them as such. But we're not 100%.
Rook is also the science officer.
Rook, Bishop, I get it. But you could have just given me anything else. You could have given me just any other android. It would have been fine. It's the same. I don't think it makes it better. I think it diminishes it, because I'm like, because I honestly, first of all, I saw it. Get this. I saw it the day I saw it on that Friday at noon. It was closed captioned, and I was like the youngest person in the theater by a good 15 years.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But it's like, even like the older folks and stuff like that, we all kind of just like groaned a bit when we saw it, because for his initial, he doesn't look that great in his initial impression, and it's also, it feels too much like, remember this,
Well,
and
it's not a remember this. It's a here's an android that is.
We're not going to agree on this. I felt his position was like diminishing to the movie, and that's actually the point where it kind of turned on me. Because I felt it was diminishing. I thought any android can fill this place. This is just like a member berry. And I don't think it did anything other than.
I don't think that one was a member berry at all.
I think it was just
that
cameo
one
for
was-
cameo's sake.
I don't think it was cameo at all. I think it was, well, first of all, it's not a cameo if he's dead.
Yeah,
So-
but I
second
mean,
of
but
all,
it's like member berry for member berry's sake. Any
no,
android could have done his
I refuse
job.
to admit that one's a member berry.
I didn't
Because
say
it's
you
just,
were going to admit it. I said we were going to disagree on it.
I know, and I'm just saying I refuse to admit it personally, because why do we need a different android every freaking movie? Like, we don't need a new model of, like, we have a Bishop, we have the Ash, we have the Andy, we have the Winona Ryder. We don't need a new android in every movie. Calling back and realizing that this is the same model of android, the same model of android that was very specifically does not have the first law. Like, Bishop clearly has the first law. Winona Ryder has the first law. Ash is morally dubious and very clearly does not. His directive does not include "do not harm humans."
Also, his
and
coding
knowing
but
that,
his coding is faulty though. In the first movie, his coding starts deteriorating on him throughout the course of it.
well, that's because he's.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's because there's whatever. There's
But-
aliens interrupting him. I don't know.
So the reason
No,
why
but that model, I think that it was a great choice because that model specifically we know is coded to protect Weyland, his number one directive,
Right.
Weyland-Yutani's interests. And we know that from the first Alien.
Yes.
And I think that it's fantastic, because we don't need
Okay.
exposition saying, oh, and by the way, this other robot also has...
So this is where also I think it gets to the point of, I understand what you're saying, but here are two reasons why I think that's a detriment. Aside from just, I think it's like cheap for,
You don't
for
like
your,
it. I
for your
gotcha.
audience. But here are two reasons why I specifically think that's probably a bad idea. One, having him when he shows up, we're like, oh, he's the bad guy, right? So there's no, we lose out on any tension or ambiguity as to like, what's his objective? We already know it's something bad, right? So we already know that. So just in terms of a storytelling thing, you lose a little bit of your ability to craft a narrative around like, what's this guy's deal? Two, right? If you're going forward and like, this is kind of like it takes place in between Alien and Aliens, you lose your ability then to have like, if you're going to make it into a franchise, which I think all movies hope to have sequels these days. And whether they want to or not, most movies get sequel these days.
Can't wait to see 90 more Hugh Jackmans.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think you run into the problem then of now you're going to have to reintroduce a new android anyway, because you're not going to do a CGI Ian Holmes again.
Well, that's fine.
So this would have been a good opportunity to introduce a new android, kind of like what they did with David in like Prometheus and Covenant.
Oh, David's awesome, though.
He's the best part of those movies.
Obviously.
Yeah,
Because
so-
there's not
Yeah,
much
so,
more
but I mean, like, you could have had an opportunity to do something like that, but instead you went with Ian Holmes. It takes away tension, and I think it hurts you going forward because you're going to have to introduce a new android anyway. This
But
would have been a great,
I think
fresh start, I think.
I don't feel that it was a memory at all. I feel that it was a good choice, because you don't need to be surprised by the antagonist. You don't need to be like, oh, this robot was evil. And if you already have a good robot, of course the other robot's going to be evil. And when he has the
They're gonna
prime
be-
directive,
They're going to be two evil robots.
if you're on a Weyland-Yutani science vessel and you're an android, yeah, he ain't a good guy. If you're on a Weyland-Yutani science vessel,
I
he ain't
agree.
a good guy.
I just think it took away our ability to maybe sympathize a bit with the one that was clearly destroyed by an alien. Because at first you see that broken one and you're like, oh, darn. Right? So you have a little bit, whether you know it or not, you have a
I
little bit
actually
of...
felt a little bit bad for him anyway.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
I did it anyway because his mission had not been objectively completed.
Yeah. You robot.
Like poor guy. He's sitting there and he's like, I'm a useless Hulk. Like the first thing he does when he wakes up is he feels
Oh, God.
He
Yeah.
feels how his bottom half is missing. That was pretty cool.
So, yeah, I just think, like I said, you're going to have to get a new android anyways. I would have liked a fresh start. Less references to what came before, I think would have been fine by me, just in general, as a theme.
As a theme, I agree.
So,
But that one and
Hey,
the,
like
that
I
one,
said,
the
we weren't gonna agree
Nostromo
on
and the
that.
Nostromo music,
I didn't...
beautiful.
Okay, yeah. See, I didn't care for the Nostromo. I didn't care for this. Kind of same reasons.
But the music on the Nostromo
I know,
show
I
was
love the
so good.
music. I know, it's a good soundtrack. And so then, like I said, this is the introduction of CGI Ian Holmes is where the movie takes a turn for me. Because up until this point, I was really with it. I liked how everything was slow. And you know, one of the problems with movies is it seems like everything's sort of a fetch quest, right? Or like, modern Star Wars, for example, go here, get this, go here, get this. In this case, go here, get this has a reason. They're like, oh, we don't have enough cryo fuel. Oh, there's cryo fuel over there. We should go get more. And I'm like, this is good. And they were taking their time with it. The stakes were very clear.
Yeah.
Right? And then when Andy's like, oh, I think I should probably kill her so everybody else can stay alive, right? I also was very much on board with that.
Oh yeah, because when Navarro gets face hooked, Andy manages to surmise that if they cryo freeze the neck, it'll paralyze it and it won't be able to choke her.
Right.
Because when they try to take it off, it's choking her. Mm-hmm. Just like if you've seen Alien, you know. And so they cryo freeze it, they get the thing off, they pull it out, and Ash goes, I would say it's 60-40 against that she is like already infected.
Infected.
They called it like a parasitoid or something. I was like, that's a pretty cool name. The word they used for it, I was like, that works. And so they start bringing her to the ship, and Ash is talking to him, and he's like, all of them will die. And he starts booking it like T2,
it's
T1000,
awesome.
and he's like, doo, 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 and he like starts ripping open like the bay door that they're closing on him, and they manage to close him out, and they take off on the cargo ship, and he's sitting there like, and like you said, the ex-boyfriend or the
it's
lover
it's
is like, hey,
yeah.
is he trying to kill Navarro? And
I don't
Ray's
know.
just like, I don't know.
So as they're flying out, the chest burster happens, right? Now this happens real fast from Incubation to chest
Chest bursters are
bursting.
wildly inconsistent among all 5 Alien movies.
Yes. To this movie's credit,
6 Alien
though, and this
movies?
is something I will say, because its speed is so accelerated in this one, but there is a line that Rook says that one of the things they're trying to do on this one is they notice that the xenomorphs can adjust their own metabolic rate depending on circumstances, either slowing it down or accelerating it. So if it is coming into a very threatened space, it accelerated its metabolism. And I'm like, I think, okay, you know what?
Right.
Okay, whatever. You know, you've already established your ticking clock with the space station in like decay.
And we've seen them in previous movies.
Yeah,
really
I'm
quickly.
okay with it. You don't got to waste my time getting to it. You can say it's metabolism, adjust.
Well, I mean, even in the original Alien, it's a couple hours.
It might. Its time is
vague,
vague.
but he's been in the room alone for
I think at least a day.
at least 1 to 24 hours before he wakes up.
Well, because Ash shuts down the lab at night,
right.
and they come back and the facehugger's missing for a while.
Right, so we don't know how long.
So we don't know how long.
Either
But you
way,
get it. Probably.
again,
Doesn't matter. They have the line about
it's a little bit. See, you're sitting there complaining about how the cargo ship works, and in my head, I'm like, well, this is where I get a little bit.
Well, they had a line. This is because they had a line of dialogue saying its metabolism is variable based on its needs and environment. So that's why I
it
give it
doesn't
a
matter.
pass.
And before this,
otherwise I'd be a little,
though,
yeah.
we get the awesome scene where Rook is explaining what happens, and then they all look up, and there's this alien like
way up in the cargo,
stuck in all these wires, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was hooked up there, if it was
No,
stuck in these wires.
I think its body probably melted too about that point.
And he's
because
like,
remember, the blood
he's like,
eventually
all the
does
military
stop.
came in and shot it to bits, and then this blood just went and spurted out. It's just like, oh shit, that's pretty cool. The shot of the alien, awesome. The effect of the acid, so well done. His body damage from the acid, beautiful. Like I loved the android. I loved the alien. I mean, you put xenomorphs and things, and my rating of it's going up by 2 points.
That's fair.
That's why
fair.
Alien Covenant's a 7 out of 5.
Fair enough. So as the ship, when the ship disembarks and the chest burster happens, and as she's flailing about and she kicks the flight stick, and it starts drifting sideways, I was like, oh God, they're dead. Right? And then they go and they're going to hit like the fuel pod. I'm like, oh God, they're dead. Then they hit the fuel pod and I'm like, why aren't they dead?
Well, isn't there's some other sci-fi series where like these cargo mining ships are essentially indestructible.
Right, but
And
those
they
are
just-
for deep space mining.
No, they weren't. They weren't.
This isn't a mining ship. This is a cargo ship. This,
Well, yes,
remember,
but it's designed to go through like the rings and shit and all
It's
that.
not
Well,
designed to
the
go through the rings. You
but
said-
it's designed to get up there.
You literally
And,
just spent like 20 minutes telling me that it is designed to go to just outside of orbit and back. There is
I didn't
no.
say that because it can go wherever it wants.
Anyways, it going through the thing and exploding, ship's fine. It takes no damage.
But there is.
Hold on, just let me finish. Just let me finish
Okay. No.
this. Because you're thinking of the ships from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
So, which is a cartoon movie.
But they are heavy-duty mining ships.
But also those are very small and dense. They're
This
not.
is pretty small and dense.
No, it's not. It's the cargo bay is apparently twice the size of any of the rest of the ship. But it goes through. It causes the explosion, right? And I'm like, oh, that's not good. The explosion, starts moving the space station itself out of orbit pretty quickly. It keeps drifting, and it drifts from the Romulus side pretty much perfectly into the cargo bay of the Remus side, perfectly into the Romulus side now. And I didn't like when it came to like such a perfect landing on the other side of the space station.
Well, that wasn't a perfect landing. Like I said, that ship is very durable, and that's why it survived.
It's just, I was like, that is so cheesy looking. I didn't like
Designed to
it.
go through asteroids.
I didn't. It is not designed to go through
It
asteroids.
goes right through asteroids.
It is
I
not designed
read
to
the
do
novelization already.
because that one of the big. All right, if it was designed to go through, then why was it so? Why were they in fear of it going through the rings?
Oh, they weren't.
They were.
Nah.
So, anyways, I just thought
Not their ship. Only the big ship.
So I thought for sure that like people were gonna die right there, and I was like, well, that's a pretty cool way to get our cast down, right? But then they didn't, and I'm like, oh, well, now we have like our two different storylines, right?
But it's not a long segue, so it doesn't separate the movie into two parts.
No, I know.
But it had one of the coolest scenes which is Navarro using, because she'd found this medical ray that can like see through her flesh. Like it's an X-ray, X-ray thing, and like when you hold a flashlight up to your hand and you can see the bones,
that
but
part's
it's like
in the trailer, yeah.
And she puts it behind her back, and you see the alien go like thump. Now I wanted my big complaint about that scene. I wanted like 5 more seconds of that shot because it was only like 3 seconds, and you just see like one thump. I wanted it to be like, and then the other people watching to be like, ah.
Well, there's just the one girl watching because
Bjorn was off somewhere.
Yeah, Bjorn's still off.
Well, either way, I wanted to see. Right, he was still locking himself in, or
he was
whatever.
locking him down. Yeah.
Either way, I wanted to see more of that. I wanted just like 5 more seconds of like the alien inside of her.
I would have been okay too with like the ship actually just kind of like drifting and them ending up in the cargo bay.
I'm gonna say what I want in a minute.
I would have liked it even if they had like regained control, but now they've drifted far off, and they're like, okay, this thing is in a weird orbital decay. We don't have our pilot. Something just came out of her, so we're lost at time. So we got to move this thing to like, we're going to try and dock with you as fast as we can. Bjorn's injured. We are going to try and do the best we can. But you guys, you may have to like try and find a way to like meet up with us after this, as opposed to them just landing in the cargo bay. Because that leads to one of my least favorite things is when the sister falls out of the cargo thing down like 3 stories. And just, oh, man, that sucked. I'm like, what do you mean that sucked?
Maybe the gravity just isn't that strong on the ship.
Maybe, but she went down hard.
I know, but still, like, it's people survive weird things.
Because the alien jumps out of it, and when the alien jumps out and lands not too far from where she had landed.
Superhero landing.
Clang! Yeah, no,
She had a superhero landing.
It was terrible. No, she didn't. She landed on her back.
Either way, that's another tiny nitpick. Like, she comes out of the cargo bay, the gravity's malfunctioning. Who knows how hard she actually lands. You don't need a character going, well, it's a good thing we only had 0.6% or 0.6 gravity.
Jeez.
Otherwise, she would have been very terribly injured. Like in other movies, you get Andy to say that, like going, oh, geez, Willikers. Oh, Dr. Smith. Danger, Dr. Smith. From Lost in Space. Mm-hmm. You don't need that shit. You don't need everything explained. And I hate that everyone wants everything explained because they're stupid. I hate when people are so stupid they need explanations for everything.
Need things that defy common sense to have an explanation, because otherwise what I'm seeing and what I know to be true are not in communication.
People survive shit, especially when their adrenaline is like 100.
Yeah.
But before that happens, the Bjorn finds the alien in a metamorphosis state, which was awesome. We've never seen that metamorphosis state. And again, this goes back to the really creepy sexuality of like the original Alien, where there's like this pod, total vagina.
Oh,
and the alien is like
yeah.
growing in it, and he plugs the stick in to give it more juice and jams it in there, and you think, oh, maybe he is damaging the alien because a little bit of acid comes and damages the thing, and he turns around and he goes to the pregnant woman like, you need to, who I'm pretty sure he's the dad.
He's their cousin.
I'm pretty sure he's the dad. Because she goes, some asshole, and then at one point they like do the head thing. I think no, that was with the other girl on the ship. Either way, in my head canon, he's the dad, and so they. But then the alien just shoots him.
Yeah.
Like with the spear, like it comes like through his eye, and he's still alive, and he like gets put down, and then the blood from the alien that he'd wounded drips down on him, and it's like fingers are like melting away, and then finally it like goes through his chest, and like he passes away. That scene was awesome. That was a fantastic scene.
Yeah, like I said, visuals I have no problem with some of this. It's a lot of the plot beats for me. It's the things that, like I said. It started to turn for me with Ian Holmes because it just ripped me out of it. And then them landing so perfectly, docking, I didn't care for that. Her surviving that fall without any, well, she probably lost the baby in that fall, realistically. She probably didn't. Because they imply later that, like something may be wrong with the child. And I'm pretty sure that might be the moment where she lost the baby, because that's a pretty substantial fall. And it's not that much longer from then to when she gets cocooned. So it happens almost within minutes of each other.
Yeah, because it's 40 minutes timer left, and by the time she's getting out, it's like 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
So it's like 20 minutes.
In order to get to this segment, too, I forgot, they go through my least favorite part of the movie, which is where they're raising the temperature in the hallway so the parasitoids, or whatever they call the face huggers,
right,
So they can't detect their body heat, and they have to walk through the hallway real quiet. And they're like, all right, it's going to take us a couple minutes. So they have all that time to do it, and at no point does he think to turn off the radio. Nobody mentions turn off the radio, we need to be quiet. And so then, not only that, but like the first thing you do when the radio goes off, it goes right, you turn that off. You don't pick it up and slowly start whispering into
it's
it.
his sister screaming for help.
I know, but like you can't help her if you're dead, bro.
I know.
You know, like get away from there first before doing. I hated that scene because I was like, well, this is remarkably stupid from characters who, even though I may not like everything that happens, have not proven to be remarkably stupid. It's like you don't take that call when your life's on the line.
I like
right?
that scene.
I hated it. I hated it because it's just, like I said, these characters had otherwise been pretty smart. They're not that far from the end of the hallway. Call her back in like 30 seconds, right? Because you end up having to run anyway. So you might as well just start running now. It just doesn't make sense that, like, in their prep time, he wouldn't be like, all right, radio silent. You know, these characters had not done anything so ridiculously. And so that's like a big, like, oh, that's stupid. And I did not care for it. And you certainly don't pick it up and talk back. But they get to the other side, and that's
I like
where
that sequence. It was a great hallway. The facehuggers were awesome.
I hate it.
The space guy, like the corpse. You know, like there wasn't really a jump scare, but there was some pretty cool stuff in that scene.
I just think them thinking
I loved at the end of it when Andy slams the door shut.
That was great.
Like, you almost locked me out. And he's like,
not even close.
He's like, I calculated
it.
Better than last time, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was good. That was a good line.
It's fine you didn't like that scene. I liked it. I thought it was very Alien.
I don't want to go completely play by play because I only have a few more things that like. The purpose of the space station was fine. Bringing in the Prometheus molecule is. It
wasn't the Prometheus molecule as much as he'd taken a molecule out, and you did see like the.
It was the Prometheus molecule. They say so because he said that they were refining the thing that
Wayland died for. And name dropping Prometheus very quick.
Yeah, it's
not
fine.
really a member berry.
No, because
hold on.
That is not a member berry because that is like that. The point of the protogenic goo or whatever it was, in order to modify humanity into being more capable of surviving the harshness of space. Okay, that's not a member berry. That is taking a plot line from something else and expounding it into like where they were kind of going with it anyway.
So let's talk about that real quick because I have a few opinions on this. Ash saying like, I loved that he goes to Andy. He's like, "What's your prime directive?" He's like, "Protecting Rain." He goes, "You have a new prime directive." He's like,
"Oh."
He's like, "When you put that chip in, you had a new prime directive." He's like, to get that molecule off at all costs because to protect Weyland-Yutani's like scientific interests. And Andy's like,
"You're right."
Yes. Oh shit.
Well, he tries to do both too. He holds both.
His secondary objective is Rain now. So as long as it's not violating his prime, which it never does, as long as he's not violating his prime directive, he's gonna try to protect Rain. Right. So he and so they go to this lab where they show a little clip of a rat getting crushed by like a hydraulic like press.
Yeah, yep. And then
Welcome to hydraulic press.
Yeah.
Today we see rat, and so they crush the rat, and then they put this molecule in the rat, and the rat comes back to life. But then when it pans over to like the chamber, the rat is like 3 foot long, xenomorph tentacles, and it's like it didn't really work. But you know,
which Rook would know, which is why he purposely just didn't tell them.
Well, he wants the molecule to get off so they can refine it and perfect it, I think. And so, or he's just like David, and he's like, I have created something better.
No, I think his was a lot more simple than David's. I think his was just like, got to get it off the station.
So you can refine it, and
I will help you. Yeah, I will help you get off the station.
But Rook mentioning that, I lost my train of thought real quick. Him mentioning that. Oh, that the reason, like all those novel viruses, he brings it up again. He's like, terraforming isn't working.
No, it's not.
Humanity is dying at an alarming rate on these planets, and even though we're getting stuff out of it, we're not fully terraforming these planets. And maybe they are on other planets. Maybe it's better, but they're probably still having novel viruses and shit. So, oh my god, get away.
I hope the butterfly made it on camera.
And so, xenomorph, cocooned, and so you know he's talking about how terraforming isn't working and humanity is dying out in space and how they need this molecule to perfect humans. Now, in Now, I read every Alien novel until about 2002.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after high school, I was kind of like, I'm done reading these because they're cheap, they're cheesy, they're pulp novels. It's
Yeah.
probably like Star Trek novels, you know?
I don't read the Star Trek novels.
Exactly. It's probably similar to that.
I did read some Dark Horse stuff, some of the comics that Dark Horse put out back in the day, or some of the books Dark
So
Horse.
if you read Earth Hive, that was actually, I don't know what came first, the comic or the book, but there was a guy named Stephen something who wrote an entire Earth Hive book where Earth gets taken over by aliens. But anyway,
Yeah.
all these alien books, basically, the plotline is basically Weyland-Yutani is trying to militarize these xenomorphs.
Right.
And so they're always doing experiments on them, but in the books, they're never more clever than, I'm trying to convince this queen to use her drones to be soldiers for me. It's a Jurassic World Raptor plotline in like all of them, and like every one of these books is like, we tried to turn these aliens into something we can control, and so the experiment going beyond that, I really liked. Like, we're trying to use the alien DNA to make humanity into something more.
And they were using the proto-molecule as a way to bridge the gap between xenomorph and human, which is fine.
In order to get us the protection that xenomorph, the adaptability that
Yeah,
xenomorphs
they're
have.
bridging the gap in our DNAs.
And
stuff.
so finding the protomolecule, I thought that I
was
liked the
fine.
scene in it. I loved when they find the pulse rifles. I'm like, shit, those are so much more advanced because it's that research station. Like, it was basically the smart guns that they had.
Yeah, it was like a mixture of the smart gun with the
pulse rifle.
With the pulse rifle.
And it was like, it had auto assist. It has AA, which is auto assist. It has like the shoulder extension.
That's a good way to make sure your heroes can shoot a gun.
Who'd never shot a gun.
Yep, it's a good way
I
to do it.
I loved how the boyfriend was like, oh, it's got this, and you pull it here, and you press
Like,
this
how
novel.
do you know? And he's like,
I've played a lot of video games and read magazines.
magazines and games. So like I said, I thought that was fine. Going into the hallway where it turns out they're on the bottom level, the research station is on the bottom level, I think makes sense for that kind of lab, because if something goes wrong, just jettison it, right? You know, you just drop it if you could, right? Or vent it from the bottom level. You don't compromise the rest of the station.
Right.
But that leads into the problem, because that's where the hive is, right?
Which they didn't know, but
Which
yes.
they did not know about. So they go out and they're in the hive, and they can't shoot anything because the acid will burn through.
They're on the bottom level, so the acid drops, vents the whole station.
And I thought, hey, that's fine too. I think that's a pretty nifty setup.
And they say, why do we need the rifles then? And they're like, 'cause
maybe it'll scare it.
Well,
Yeah.
not scare it, but
No, that's what he said.
it'll pause them.
Yeah, it'll intimidate it.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
think and in other
It's like
movies,
big if.
in other movies and the novels, the aliens do understand. The drones typically don't care.
Right.
But the queen in Aliens,
Yeah.
she points that gun at the facehuggers. And the
Oh, yeah,
queen's
yeah,
like,
yeah. And
the queen's like, no, not my babies.
Oh yeah, no, it's already been established that some of
Yeah.
these things are clever, and they're aware, you
Yeah.
know. So I have no issue.
Very
with
alien,
that.
very,
I have
very
no
good.
issue with that. The aliens in the hive, when they capture the boyfriend, when after he saves the sister, right, and they murder him, I was like, I thought for sure they were just going to take him down an air duct and he'd disappear, very similar to what happens with like Tom Skerritt in Alien.
Right.
But instead we see them like chomp, 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 and I'm like,
Well, not just chomp, 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 just one.
yeah, it goes right through his eye though, and I mean, like,
Which is awesome. You have to have one sequence with the mouth going, like, you have to.
I know you have to, but I think it's scarier to just watch him how quickly they could take him up a shaft and make him disappear while he's screaming. Something to that is more impactful to me than the eat the eyeball.
But I wanted to see it.
And then it leads to this horrible sequence with the elevator. I hate this elevator
Well, no,
sequence.
you're missing like the coolest sequence of the movie.
No.
Zero G.
They get to the elevator first, and then the zero G happens, because she sends the sister back up
She
with
sends
the
the sister
goo.
back up, you're right.
So this shows that there's an elevator that connects from the very bottom level of the lab all the way through to whatever other level they need to,
Which
right?
there would be.
Yep, of course. It's like a freight elevator.
You want to walk up those stairs?
You know what the problem with it though is that when you close the gate, it's still got a gap large enough for like a facehugger to jump through. So even like if there was like a facehugger chasing them, which they show later on, it would have been able to just like go through it. The elevator is not a particularly safe thing, but you work with what you have, right? Sister goes up, she can't feel the baby, or she's in intense pain, injects herself with the protomolecule
Well,
goo.
she has her throat slashed when she gets kidnapped by the alien. Like it
she's
cut her throat.
She's bleeding out.
Yeah, it's not her carotid, because otherwise she would have been dead already.
Right.
But like she has a massive gash on her neck,
Yeah.
and they mention that she's bleeding out.
And
because when she gets grabbed, and they're like, open the door.
Oh no, it's not. It's not her neck. It's through her shoulder.
Probably.
Because she gets hooked.
But either way, she's bleeding like a motherfucker. And I did like that scene where Andy was like, they're like, open the door, and he's like, it's right there. It wants me to open the door.
It was a great Andy scene to show you that, like, all right, this thing's hunting you now.
Well, and I think under his breath, he's like, "There's 2 in 1. There's 2 in 1." Like, like he's calculating, like they mentioned on
like
the ship.
they mentioned, yeah. No, that's a great scene.
There's 1 in there. There's 2 out here.
Yep.
And I think he's saying it like under his breath, and he's like calculating it, and he's like,
I'm not doing it. Yeah, and he was right not to, kind of thing.
But the people will never feel that way.
No, they never feel that way.
Which they shouldn't.
And so,
like, it's his sister, You're never gonna go, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't have tried.
So she has to go back for Andy because he gets bumped, and they've established that if he takes like blunt force trauma, it messes with like his programming. It like kind of puts him into like a stasis lock, almost like a seizure. He has like a seizure.
Well,
when he
wasn't.
So when he gets knocked over, it shorts him out again.
Well, he was like reaching down into the. They had
they had the blue laser field again, which doesn't make sense.
They had the fog layer they had in like the
that
first
was
Alien.
That was another member berry.
I didn't know
what
for some reason that messed with his. I think that's what messed with him.
No, I think he gets knocked over, doesn't he, or something? I can't remember, but it doesn't matter.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So she goes back for him, and that's when they end up getting surrounded by the other aliens. It turns out there's a panel on the wall that deactivates the gravity.
Well, it's a panel that can do everything, basically.
Yeah.
Like you can access all the systems through the panels.
So she turns off the gravity, uses the auto thing to shoot, and like on paper that sounds like okay, except for the fact that it's like these things are really moving at you. So your acid splash for killing as many as she did.
They were moving at her until the gravity went off, and then they slowed down significantly.
They did. But the fact is, she kills a lot of these guys.
It's still moving towards her.
It is, but there should be
no.
more acid blood.
No, so it's established in alien lore that if you shoot the chest, fucking the blood comes bursting out like a heart,
But
like
not
it
if you
beats
shoot him in the head.
But if you shoot him in the head, there's not as much acid. It doesn't explode out because their blood's not like pumping through their head like it is through their chest. This is established alien lore. And they established with the the pulse rifle aiming, when she was like aiming at Andy, it went right to the head. It did not go to the body, it went right to the head. And when she aims it at the aliens, to the head.
Then. Cheerfully withdrawn on the amount of acid. I still think she navigates the hallway a little too nimbly for someone who doesn't probably have zero-G training.
I mean, I agree. Well, at one point, she's going right into it. But this is one of the coolest sequences in the movie, and in any alien movie, in my opinion, is the aliens are coming at her. She shuts down the gravity, and they start floating, and she just uses this assisted rifle, and you can watch like the pulse rifle like ammo going down.
They've done that in other alien movies. It's the same thing you've seen in other alien ones.
Yeah,
where
but
watching,
not in
like,
zero G.
count.
Not seeing their heads, like some of the bullets are like bouncing off their heads. One of the aliens later that's attacking her has that scar of like a bullet that had like.
I think that's the scar from the cattle prod. I think that's the same alien that came out of the vagina cocoon, and that
it could be. But
I think that's a scar from Bjorn.
Even if it's not, it could be a scar.
I thought it was a scar from Bjorn.
It looked like a bullet. Either way, you saw like the scar alien.
Yeah.
And she's hitting the heads, and some of them are bouncing off, some of them are going in, and like she's just decimating them, and like because she has this super advanced rifle, the blood is like spinning in the air, and it's not going down and preaching the hole. Like this sequence was fucking awesome. Like this was one of the coolest things I've seen in sci-fi, hands down.
So they get to the elevator, and when they're going up, what does the zero G turns on while they're
they jump up and propel themselves, and the alien's like coming up, and she like drops the pulse rifle, and this scene's a little cheesy, but it's not. It's a decent sci-fi action sequence.
I didn't like how far she was falling, then to just get caught by the alien's tail and it to gently place her on the ladder. I'm like,
I mean, there were.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, like it grabs her. I mean, like their first instinct is when something's not a threat, and the guy had the pulse rifle, so he was a threat at the time. So that's why they killed him.
Tom
in my opinion,
Skerritt had a flamethrower.
Flamethrowers can't kill aliens.
Yes, they can.
No, they can't.
They certainly can.
Did you play Alien Isolation? Could you kill the alien with that flamethrower?
Couldn't kill the alien.
You scared it away. You used a flamethrower. You had a flamethrower. Did you kill the alien?
You couldn't kill the alien anyway.
Exactly.
But that was the point of the game.
All flamethrowers do is scare them. It is established that flamethrowers scare aliens.
They burn a bunch of them to death in Aliens with flamethrowers, with their flamethrowers. They burn a bunch of them.
That's a military grade, and it's mostly the facehuggers.
This doesn't matter.
Tom Skerritt had like
Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt had a creme brulee torch.
No, they made like little flamethrowers. They were
like
impressive.
creme brulee torches.
No, they were like rifle. It was a rifle. It was like a rifle.
Looking at Elon Musk's flamethrower from like 2017, which was a creme brulee torch, versus the 75-foot napalm flamethrower.
Anyways, she gets grabbed by it. It does that thing from every Alien movie where it just slowly leans into
Well, it's gonna get her face hugged because she's not a threat, in my opinion.
You know, Andy jumps down and, you know, get away from her, you bitch.
That is the worst part of the movie. When he uses the gravity to like drop kick that sumbitch, that was awesome.
I kind of thought, to be honest, because he came down so hard on it, that it was going to destroy his legs. And like he's going to be, or like, it's acid strong enough to eat through the hull, right, and cause space, but it can't burn through the elevator, which is the only thing stopping this. It should have gone down, and they should have been stuck with that ventilation problem again. Or maybe they just shouldn't have made it back.
Well,
I don't know.
They got stuck with the ventilation problem anyway.
So this leads into my biggest.
But no. So let's talk about that real quick. So he drops on this alien. Pretty cool. He grabs a pulse rifle on the way down. You know, action-y, pretty cool. And then he shoots the alien. You know what? The gravity's already on, so the acid's already eating through the hull.
And it should have gone through the elevator.
The elevator wasn't on the bottom. He didn't land on the elevator, did he?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah, and it shows the acid slowly starting to eat the elevator. I'm like, your elevator is made of stronger acid material.
Well, the acid is also wildly inconsistent in Alien. So he's like, when someone's like, I'm taking off my shirt. Whoa, I didn't die. It's like, you know, but that's like Aliens, you know. So it's the acid, the face hugger speed.
I'll give you that one.
Maybe it's slowed down its metabolism, so it's acid blood wouldn't.
You got me with my own logic on that one. So then they make it back to the ship.
No, hold on. I still want to say, but he does the dumbest thing possible, where he goes, "Get away from her, you," and then he pauses and goes, "You," and then pauses and goes, "bitch," and I'm just like, no. At what point does a homage become?
It's too much.
It's not just repetitive.
And that line in Aliens is, you know, it's
iconic. And that's why they said it, right?
Yeah.
But
and
the
it also
delivery,
has some plot weight to it in Aliens as well.
Well, and it has the weight of Ripley defending a child,
right,
who she has bonded with beyond.
So in the director's cut, as it turns out, there was supposed to be a scene where Paul Reiser tells Ripley that she just missed the death of her own daughter because she was in cryo for like 70-something years.
Amanda.
Which they should have kept in the final movie, because that's such a good like arc for you know, for Ripley. And so like she lost a child and she finds a child. But it's
they had to take that out in order for Alien Isolation to work.
Yeah. So
you better withdraw that. Cheerfully withdraw, and I want to hear it.
Well, no, because the Alien Isolation takes place when the daughter is still like relatively young.
But then she goes back to Earth and dies of old age?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
right, so yeah, but like, you bitch, and it's just like,
it's terrible.
It is not just like, it has weight in Aliens, and in this it has no weight.
It's just,
and in this it is like Andy. Let's talk about Andy. The actor is fantastic through the movie, and then that delivery was so, like, I can't believe.
Which is unfortunate, because it's one of the last things he gets to do.
I can't believe they didn't do like another take on that. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I did like how the elevator wasn't working in 0G, and you could see the spooling. Like,
that was pretty neat.
That was neat.
It doesn't make sense to have an elevator that would require spools.
It does.
I don't know.
They don't. It's not like they're going to add a separate 0G.
No, it would have more of a track system. Would be my
But you wouldn't want. I mean, it's on a track. It's just the.
No, like gears, like teeth.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think the spooling is very good hard sci-fi, very analog.
Very analog. I'll give you that one. But,
which is kind of the.
So when they get back to the cargo bay, right, and they put the pregnant girl in...
Who has injected herself with the molecule.
Who has injected herself with the proto molecule, right?
Because she was terrified for her life.
Also a little bit of that, and I feel like she knew she lost the baby. Because...
But did she see the rat?
No, nobody saw the rat.
But I think Ash was kind of in her head, Rook was kind of in her head, and No, he hadn't talked to her yet. I think she was just like, she heard like...
Well, because no, she does this thing where she like grabs here and she's like in pain. And so her concern for the child, maybe, I think she
Well,
realized
Ash had already mentioned it when they were at the bottom. And
in any event, she was
like, inject her and she'll be safe.
Yeah, and they were like, we're not doing that. And because doesn't Andy say like, I wouldn't or something?
Well, they were like, well, Rain was thinking about it heavily.
Yeah. And so they end up back on the ship. Pregnant chick with proto-molecule goes into cryo, right? And they're like, all right, well, we might as well set a course for Ivaga. And I was like, this is a good spot to end the movie because,
Right.
all right, you have established that when they get there, we don't know what's coming out of that pregnant chick. I feel like that is way more exciting and potentially, like, because if it does well, you're going to want a sequel. Some people are like, oh, it'd be sequel bait, sequel bait. And here's why I don't think it's sequel bait. Your initial premise for this movie has been concluded. You have gone to the space station. You have your cryo sleep. You have your cryo fuel. Your friends are dead. You are now on your way to the next thing. It is okay to have story and characters continue on if you're going to have a sequel, which if it does well, and it looks like it's doing pretty well.
Made over 100 million in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For an R-rated sci-fi?
That's what I'm saying. And I'm curious to see if there'll be drop-off, because this does feel like a movie like everybody who wanted to see it went and saw it.
Right.
You know? So we'll see how it goes.
Just like Deadpool versus Wolverine.
No, yeah.
Drop-off, big drop-off.
Huge drop-off. And that's why I would have ended it. The reason why this infuriates me is because, as I've already discussed, I was kind of on the outs with this movie. But I was like, all right, this is an appropriate ending. But no, we have to do the bonus extra act.
This is where
I hate it.
This is where I mostly agree with you. I'm not going to go as far as hate it. But, like, so I watched this movie 2 times. I watched it on my own because I wanted to see because my nephew expressed interest. And so I watched it on my own on Thursday when it came out. And then I watched it and I was like, and then your brother Dylan watched it.
I know.
And I was like, is there anything wrong?
How weird that you guys went to a movie, not together, mind you, but they saw the movie on Dylan also went on Thursday.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, that's my thing. No.
But no, so I watched it and then, I talked to Dylan about it and
Yeah.
he was like, I liked it too. And, we're talking about it. And then,
You did like it.
and then we went to, and then I was like, Dylan, is there any reason that I shouldn't bring my nephew to see it? And he was like, no.
No.
He's like, if he can handle other R-rated movies, he can handle this one.
Yeah, it's pretty tame.
The most gruesome scene is Bjorn dying. And
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of like graphic.
and there's a scene, and my nephew does not handle vomiting well because my sister's very sympathetic, and she freaks out. And so that was the one scene where I was like,
All right.
if I can see it coming, I'll be like, eh. But I didn't.
No,
And so it was very
tame for
brief.
R.
But I feel like that's unnecessary. I watch Cinema Sins occasionally, and one of his big sins that I always mention is vomiting on camera. And I'm like, I agree with you on that one, bro. But so I watched it with my nephew, and the first time I watched it, I liked it a lot. I gave it an 8 out of 10. And then after you watched it, I sat there and I thought about it, and you're like, I hated the second half, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, did I enjoy it that much? And I kind of started falling off in my enjoyment of it. And then I watched it the second time, and I loved the movie, loved it, loved this atmosphere, loved the sets, loved the characters, loved the action. And then, it got a little, and then I liked it, and then I loved it, and then I liked it, and then I was like, dope. So up until this point, 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
Maybe 9 out of 10. No, 8 out of 10. And then you were absolutely right. Movie should have ended with them getting into the thing, cryopoding the lady, and then
because that's exciting tension for a sequel.
She plugs in the robot and she goes, "I'm going to take care of you this time."
Yeah.
And then she goes,
Yeah.
And then the fucking ship goes, error in cryopod, vitals dropping horribly.
So stupid. And they did it because it's like, well, Alien and Aliens have that secret thing. Okay, in Aliens,
Alien 4.
Oh yeah, Alien 4. Alien 4. This has a lot more in common with them to an extent.
Well, Alien. All three of them have the explosive decompression fight with the alien.
The reason why it works in Alien and Aliens specifically, those two movies specifically, one, you're not expecting it to be on the escape pod. So that's terrifying because here she is literally in her most vulnerable state, getting ready to go into cryo in her underwear, right? And
nice.
Nice. And then there's the xenomorph, right? And it's like, it's acting different too, right? So that's also neat because that's the most we really get to see it, you know? And it's kind of like curled up. And I guess they were saying like it was kind of wounded and looking for a place to die, or it just, you know, whatever reason, it does not matter.
Maybe it was going into its own, it's slowing down its
It's
metabolism
slowing down its
to
metabolism,
prepare
yeah.
for.
But in any event, it's like tucked in there, you know? And it's just like, it's fine. It's not really paying her much attention. She doesn't want to disturb it, which is why she very slowly gets in the spacesuit, which this movie rips off, but it doesn't have the same impact.
No.
And it's great because it's like, what is the worst thing that could happen? It's like now she has nothing and she's still got to deal with it. That's great. Why it's effective in Aliens is because you don't expect it to get into the landing gear.
But the Queen made it. And it's Bishop, and he gets ripped into two.
I know.
And you're like, holy shit.
Jarring.
And Hawk is like already like, he's already been scarred by the inconsistent acid. And,
oh, God.
And Newt's like,
Mommy.
Or whatever, you know. And then they call back the loader. Awesome fight sequence. It does not have that weight or gravity. Instead, they pull from Alien, they pull from Aliens, and they pull from Alien Resurrection.
I hated so the woman gives birth to an alien pod, which is leaking acid, but they're able to like.
Well, it's like
you know
if you're in a placenta,
and
how you have like the placental fluid, its placental fluid is acid. I thought that was kind of cool.
I think
I thought.
Keep in mind, all of this to me is wildly unnecessary.
This is wildly unnecessary.
There's no part of it I like.
So this is where I disagree with you. I liked the alien birth sequence. I thought that was disgusting. I thought the alien baby coming out was gross as hell. And I thought the look of the monster was cool.
I don't, and here's why.
I know you don't.
It reminds me, do you remember that, maybe one of the only people who saw it, there was a 2009 movie with Adrian Brody called Splice.
I saw that.
It reminded me of a less threatening version of the thing from Splice.
So for me, it looked like, first of all, it felt like a fuck you to Joss Whedon, which anyone who doesn't think that Joss Whedon deserves a fuck you every now and then has been paying attention to the last 15 years of history.
I think it's pretty well documented now.
But like the way, like, because in Alien 4, that alien was abysmal.
It looks terrible too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Michael Jackson nose.
Whereas this one, it's like an engineer hybrid.
The worst problem is the face.
One of the things I liked, I thought the face being engineer-esque was kind of cool. I thought the smile was creepy as fuck. I don't know why it was smiling, but you know, maybe it was already smart. Anyway, hold on. Let me. I agree that it didn't look great, but I liked the look of the face. I thought that if you're gonna do a human-alien hybrid, it had like vents on the back of its body that were very clearly like for like processing atmosphere.
Could have been, yeah.
It had the tail. I thought it looked pretty cool. I thought it was menacing. Now how it acted, not so much. But what I did think was cool was she was trying to use the cryo gun and it gets penetrated, and like this is an entire like one of those tubes is like 5 years worth of
it's a long time of compressed yeah, right. It's a lot of cryo fuel.
And so she's trying to.
I don't know why it would have gone through the bulkhead she closed.
Well, because like the gas had already gotten through in some of it, and so it starts to drop, and it's like critical pressure. So I thought the reason that the impetus for her getting into the suit, I thought it was fine. I know you disagree.
How long would she have to wait then to go back through the hallway to get to the ship so it could take off? Because if it's that bad, remember, because the bulkhead door is closed. So she would have thought, well, maybe while in her spacesuit, she opened it up and just vented all the stuff into space. I don't know. It's not shown because after she beats the creature...
Well, because the placental thing had already opened up that point. And
how... Because I'm pretty sure she closes the bulkhead door so she can get into the suit first. I don't remember.
She closes the door. It's still icing up in the cabin. She gets in the suit, and then on her way back, she reads the manual cargo bay. And, she actually sees the sign, release these 4 things. It works. And then it works, but it doesn't really work.
It doesn't really work.
And then they vent it, and of course the alien's going out, and it's not explosively decompressing like in Alien 4. Fuck you. Like, Dad, I'm squeezing through this tiny hole.
I thought it was going to.
I know, me too. But when she gets out, so top 3 shots of the movie though is when she gets out and she's dangling on the thing and the alien's dying, but then it shows like the cargo hold going away and slowly exploding as it hits the ring, and then it like kind of pans up. And like you see how solid the ring is. You see that there's actually like rock formations on the ring. The ring looks so fucking cool. And then in the background,
we saw that. We've seen that though. We've seen that throughout the windows.
Hold on, and then in the background you see like the orbital station. You see it just like slowly crumbling into the rings and exploding. That shot is so good. That shot itself And I know the setup to getting that shot isn't great, but that shot itself is so well done.
Venting the cargo stuff where the alien literally hangs down and gets right in her face is the ugliest thing that movie shot. It is like just like it is so gross looking with like all the particles and then its weird CGI face.
Yeah.
It looks hideous.
But then we get that shot of the ring, which is beautiful sci-fi.
But none of this should have been in the movie. It's much more exciting for like if you're gonna do hey B. It's much more exciting as a plot line to continue in the sequel. And I would have taken a little more time on your creature design, right? You got to give me something. It has the skinny arms, but it still has like a square torso. So it's like, it doesn't look like quite functional in design. I would have spent a little more time
growing,
on
maybe?
because the engineers are huge, right? So you can give me engineer musculature
Well, I
on
mean,
an
the arms
alien
and the
body.
like the tail is slowly growing too, so maybe the arms are going to get big and beefy.
Yeah, that would have been.
Maybe it's going to get a big beefy arm out of the back.
It shouldn't have been in the movie.
I agree.
So this is why this movie is. This is why also like it's so hard for me to give this movie like give it an inch kind of thing because I was so into that first 30 minutes and I
was
thought
so into the first hour and 30 minutes.
Until they reveal Rook, I was on board, right? I really was. And the moment they did that, I was like, no, please don't. And then from that point forward, it felt like not the plot driving like the situations like, oh, we need to go up there and we need to get the cryo stuff for our ship. And I was like, makes sense. Oh, we don't have enough cryo stuff. We'll have to go to the cryo. All the cryo's over here for some reason. I'm like, makes sense, especially because you're trying to freeze all the like the face huggers and stuff in there because you don't want them running around, right? Some of them already had gotten loose at some point, clearly. So, like, it's fine.
But
I'm
the impetus
okay with
still
that.
works after that because it's Ash going.
But it's not Ash, it's Rook.
It's Rook. It doesn't matter. We're saying it interchangeably. I'm saying it interchangeably. You know what I mean.
I do
They
know
know
what
what
you
I mean. And but the fact that he's like, I'm not letting you off the station unless you achieve my prime directive.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. I think that's good. I think that's good, in fact.
I don't even think you need him necessarily to even do, like, this bigger story. Them having a hard time even trying to, like, get the fuel, it is fair enough.
So the end of the movie, the other part that I was like, ugh, was when she's finally going into cryo sleep with Andy.
Yeah.
And she's like, maybe this now is when she says, this time I'll take care of you. I'll fix you. I'm not leaving you behind.
No, you were right. It was before the monster.
Well, either way, she still has the same
She does
goals.
She does the.
I think she puts him in cryo sleep this time, right?
She puts him in cryo sleep because his throat got slashed.
But then she goes
For all the good that'll.
and then she fucking goes like, and then they go, this is the sole survivor
She does the Ripley.
of the
She
ship
does the Ripley.
Muy Caliente.
Yeah.
And we're heading to the Yagoway system.
Yeah, the
the
Yagoo
Dagobah system. And,
Wagyu beef. Yeah, no.
and she does this, and I'm like, you don't need that callback either. So the last 20 minutes really were just callbacks to other movies. And I want to say, at what point does a references are fine. We saw 4 or 5 references in the beginning that worked really well. But
Game
at what
Over
point,
Man when he's playing the handheld. That's a good reference because it's.
I
silly.
liked when they brought back Prometheus. I liked the Nostromo with the music. That got me excited for the movie. I liked the we talked about a couple of them. I don't remember exactly what they are at this point. But I liked those references. And then everything after, get away from her, you bitch. I fell off on the references. And then the last part is Alien 1, 2, and 4 again. And I'm just like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
And so when it comes down to it, yes, that last part was totally necessary. But and then this is the starship log of the Captain Picard, and like that was that's right. Not how you end this movie, bro.
So, like I was saying, for me, showing me that it's Rook Ian Holmes, I was kind of from that point on my back foot already. I didn't enjoy it.
Don't pay attention to him at this part. It doesn't.
I didn't like it. Like I said, it could have been any android. There's nothing unique about it. Him being Ian Holmes.
Ian Holmes is still alive. He did the voice, I'm sure.
No. It's in the credits. It says body double and voice double.
Yeah,
So
by Ian Holmes.
No, but there's nothing unique about it being. It's not like they recovered like the processor from Ash, which I wouldn't have been okay with either.
It wouldn't have been the processor. It's the model of Android,
Right.
and we've already established that it doesn't have first directive.
Right. So we've
unlike every other Android which has been published in the books and in the movies.
We've discussed it in this video, so we don't need to rehash. I'm just telling you my quick run why it didn't work for me, and from that point forward, all the goodwill that it had really built up for me in those first like 30 minutes, I just wasn't having it. So I felt, especially then the last 20 minutes, because I thought they could have been like, well, at least they stuck the landing with this cryo thing. That last 20 minutes is ugly looking. That's where it's the darkest. It's where it's the murkiest. I don't like the creature design. I don't like the look of the venting stuff in his space because it just looks terrible with the thing in her face like that. I hated it. I just didn't like it. I thought you had a much better ending with your primary ending, and you should have stuck with that and saved this for if you get a sequel, because, you know, even if you don't get a sequel, the fear of like what is gestating inside her is scarier than actually seeing it. So you go out, because this movie fell apart for me personally as viewing it, all that good work and like all the the visuals and the form language and stuff from the beginning of the movie, I just felt, God, it fell apart on me so bad. So for me to say like, I liked a little less than 50%, so it gets like a little less than a 5 out of 10 for me, maybe like 4, right? I just didn't have a good time with it because then it just felt like too much like, remember this, remember this, remember this.
You just hate things.
I don't just hate things. I loved the first couple minutes of the movie. I thought they had done a really good job.
You said you didn't like the first couple minutes.
Well, I don't like the first scene, the Nostromo
That's the first
thing.
couple minutes.
I liked from the mining planet. I even liked a little bit of them on the space station until they got to Ian Holmes. And then my enjoyment kind of fell off, and it never really came back. That's the truth. It's a fact of the matter.
So, my opinion, 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I thought the science fiction, I thought the hard sci-fi aspects of it throughout the movie, fantastic. I thought that the set pieces, fantastic. I thought it had so many fantastic shots. The zero-G, the face huggers running after them, the zero-G, everything with the zero-G was pretty awesome, especially the fight sequence. The action sequence is not really a fight sequence.
Yeah.
Would have been cool, old boy style, beating up all the aliens. Alien zero-G hallway scene with Andy beating them. Oh my God, that would have been the best thing I've ever seen.
As it slowly destroys him, though, but it keeps her alive. That would have been pretty neat.
No, but I thought that was pretty perfect as was.
I really expected Andy to have a sacrifice.
I thought all the zero-G stuff was sick. I thought the set of the layout of the ship, beautiful. The alien dangling, awesome. The android parts, really cool shots. The characters, I mean, you can't really say really well defined. It's a horror movie. You know, you get their motivations. It's more than other horror movies. It's not just like, we're in the woods having sex. Yeah. It's like, you know why they're so desperate to leave this planet. You know that they know their doom is coming. You know that they've seen everyone that they love die on this planet repeatedly. Like
right.
Their parents,
but like
the people that took care of them.
All of that.
Hold on. And then I think that all of the hard, brutalistic sci-fi, the analog technology, the little bits of like, even the little bits of Prometheus I liked. Because they didn't go overboard with it. And xenomorphs are just fucking awesome. You put a xenomorph in a movie, it goes up 2 points. It just does. It just does. That's why Alien Covenant is a 6. And you know, Prometheus is a 7. And you know, it's really good hard sci-fi, R-rated, characters that are decent, monsters that are slick, androids that work for me, both androids, and like just the setting and the planet and most everything that happens is just really cool. It's a really cool movie. And then at the end, it's not cool anymore, but you know, it's still worth watching. It's still worth going out and seeing. Just know that it ends earlier than it does actually end.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm going to talk about the thing that I would have liked to see at the end, or the thing that the first watch I was expecting, which made the first watch a little, like I kind of went up and down in the first watch, because, well, I would have liked to have seen, or what I thought I might see, and it kind of, you know, and that's the second time I'm watching it. I'm okay with it, because I know what's going to happen, and I know that I'm not getting what I was kind of like looking forward to, is when the cargo ship, the first time it vents with the alien, I was hoping, or I was thinking what could happen is that it would autopilot down to the planet with the alien on board. And then these characters are trying to escape the ship, right? And they finally find like an escape pod. They get out of it. They're heading home to the planet. They land on the planet. And it's been taken, like those 2,000 miners and shit have been aliened. and like it's just like the last scene would just be them coming out, and like the mining planet is now a hive. That would have been so sick. I mean, I'm not sure it would have been great, but it would have been fucking awesome.
Timeline on that would have been tough.
Well, I mean, let's say they're on the ship for longer. It's not now when the cargo ship takes off, it hasn't messed with the orbit. It's not 40 more minutes, and they have like time. And we've already established chestbursters can come out in X amount of time.
Oh,
so
you're
let's
saying
say they spend 1 to 2 more days on there,
Yeah, they spend like a day in it. Yeah, all right.
like
And
trying to survive.
Turns out they had already jettisoned the proto-molecule to the planet or something
No,
like that.
when the cargo ship is autopilots down to the planet, the alien's still on board, and maybe there's a facehugger on board, or like some kind of regenerative capacity. Because we already know from Alien 1 that the alien could make eggs somehow. Like, was it a queen to begin with? We don't, because in Alien they hadn't established lore.
Yeah, right.
But like in this one, it could have been like that by the time they get down to the planet, the aliens are there, or maybe they're still fighting, and like the aliens are fucking everyone up, and maybe it's just like. This is a reading the books dream.
Everybody
action
wants to
sci-fi.
see. Everyone wants to see Planet Aliens. Because if you think about it, just one would be enough.
So I'm not saying there would have been a good ending. I'm saying, when I pictured that in the first movie as it was going on, it would have been cool.
Fair enough.
I thought it was cool anyway until the end, and then I thought it was extraneous.
Fair enough. Well, we're pretty much done with our cigars, which means this episode of DECKadent has come to a, well, maybe not bombastic conclusion, but a conclusion nonetheless. So, Plummer, thanks for coming over. Thanks for being so passionate about the franchise.
I like xenomorphs.
I like turtles.
To an autistic level.
That's fair. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time
On Brat Summer 2.
Electric Boogaloo.